Welcome to Becoming an Elite Financial Advisor with Sten Morgan, where we help financial professionals like you recognize and reach your potential faster. It's common knowledge that when an advisor switches companies, it's usually their third or fourth move where they land and ultimately stay the longest. But why do advisors leave their company, and how do you end up landing in a place where things will be better than they were before? In today's episode, we talk with Matthew Williams, an Elite Advisor Network member, about his experience in the industry. We talked to him about how his parents' debts fueled his desire to have a different experience in his own marriage. And perhaps most interesting is how he got into the business in the first place. We're confident you're going to gain some practical insight that will help you develop in your career as an advisor in this episode. So thank you for listening. Here's my conversation with Matthew Williams. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Becoming an Elite Financial Advisor with Sten Morgan. Sten is not here today. He is thankfully on vacation with his family for just a couple weeks. So Sten, I think you can listen to this from the beach. Hope you're doing well. And we're here with an Elite Advisor Network member, Matt Williams. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, Andy, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, I'm wondering if you could jump right into, because I think it's really interesting. It's everyone's origin story, is different. There's nuance to it. And I was really fascinated by yours. So could you just tell me the conversation? I want to set this up. It's pretty cool. What was the conversation that you went from, oh, I should get into this? And who was it with? Because I think this is really interesting of how you got into business.
Yeah, so I got into business. Well, my backstory is I was an engineer for 15 years. And what happened was when I got married, my wife and I had some different ideas on monies. And I know my parents struggled with money for a lot of years. And it was very much, we didn't really talk about it too much. And there was issues there. So I didn't want that with my family. So we hired a financial planner when we first got married.
Interesting.
I want to make sure that, we didn't create the same mistakes that both of our parents kind of made when it came to money. So we hired someone, and for 10 years, we met with this advisor for 10 years. And one year, one meeting, I sat down with him and got discussing future and what I'm looking at in my career and stuff. And he kind of come to find that I wasn't too thrilled with my current career. I was kind of, I don't know, I had a glass ceiling where I was at, and to tell you the truth, wasn't really being challenged too much. And he's like, Matt, you're pretty good with numbers. You're an engineer. Why don't you look at what we're doing here? And kind of like, I started thinking about it. I really did enjoy meeting with my financial planner almost every time. And so I decided to take a look into it, and went part-time for about a year. And then I went full-time about almost 10 years ago now.
Now, was it structured, you worked under them, with them, same company, or what, how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I came in their company. It was a big broker-dealer type company.
Yeah.
And so we had a small team, and I would sit in on their meetings and stuff, and then they would then also assist me with my meetings with my clients, my first clients.
Yeah.
And got to learn the business that way through the bigger broker-dealer type insurance type agency.
Yeah. Let me ask you this though. I mean, it's just that to some degree, it's almost, I mean, maybe it's not exactly the same, but it's sort of like your doctor going, have you ever thought about becoming a doctor? And you're like, this is weird, Now I know some advisory companies, recruit more than others. But when you got, sort of behind the curtain and kind of saw, what happened on the back end of the company, were you surprised? Were you like, wow, this is simpler than I thought, or more complex than I thought? Because, to go from client to provider, that's a different seat. You know what I mean?
It really is. As a client, by doing what we did for 10 years as a client, I did kind of understand where they're coming from on things. But then, once we got into the business, there's some eye-opening things where it's like, okay, didn't realize this, didn't realize that.
Yeah.
However, but I still did love what I was doing. I mean, I got into it, and yeah, there was definitely some challenges starting out. As you would know, any advisor starts out, it's not easy.
Right.
It's a couple of years of just grinding
Yeah.
through.
Well, before we talk about family stuff, I want to ask a little bit more about your professional progression, because there is this I think it's almost this universally unspoken or whispered conversation about, and I think Kitsis has talked about, like, most people where they land is usually their third place that they land, where they stay, And so what was your progression professionally from the company you were at to where you are now? Did you go from them to where you are now? How many jumps have you made, and why did you make those jumps?
Right. Well, three is a lucky number, I guess you just said. So we made myself and my current partners. We actually made a jump to an RIA that was located down in Tennessee, and we made that jump just because we really wanted to move out of the broker-dealer format.
What specifically, though, and again, I press on this because I'm trying to think like the listener, and they're like, but what was it? I mean, because
why did I do it?
Well, it's not to badmouth people. It's just information. It's not judgment, right? But is it just, hey, like, if I can do the same work but get 50% more payout, like, come on now, right? Is it regulation or oversight that was heavy-handed? Was the training poor? Was the culture bad? I mean, we haven't said who they are, so it doesn't matter. But what was the draw?
Yeah, a little bit of all the above, Andy. So yeah, obviously, by making the move out of the broker-dealer world, you do keep more of what you do.
What percentage do you think you improved?
Oh, I'm guessing 20%, 25% better.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Freedom. We're able to do more when it comes to marketing. Doing different types of programs where the compliance role in the broker-dealer role is pretty strict, which is good. It's good too. We want to make sure we're not doing the wrong things. Right. There was a lot of things that we couldn't do there.
Can you give me an example of something that you're like, God, come on, we're being silly here? I mean, is it like, because again, we want regulation. Like, I want police officers. Why? Because it'll keep me from speeding. It'll keep other people from speeding. If someone is speeding, then please give them a ticket. We all want regulation to some degree, but at some point you're just like, come on, man. Like, I'm just trying to make a living, right? Like, calm down.
Yeah. So I remember one time I wanted to do like a webinar or some type. I think it was a webinar or an open talk. It was a talk, some type of webinar situation, and they wanted me to submit a script of what I'm going to say in the webinar, like literally a full script. I'm like, well, interesting. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to create a full script. It's just almost just too much work to do it. It's like, something, doing a webinar and getting folks to get there in the first place is hard enough. But having me write a full script of it, that's not going to happen. So I just kind of scrapped it. I'm like, forget it.
Yeah.
Hands up. I'm not going to get into it. So that was one of many examples of things that I'm like, it's just not worth it. It's not worth the hassle.
We've experienced that in working with some companies that, if we link to our website, they were like, we have to vet everything on your website. If we link to your website, if you do a giveaway, now listen, like if they say, hey, if you want to have our members opt into something, we need to vet that. Okay. I guess that's fine. Right. But it's almost like they want to sort of own the internet. And I'm like, at some point you have to let people learn, and
right.
So pays better, a little more freedom on the marketing side. What have you and your partners focused on when it comes to creating a culture that you want to be a part of with your new company? Because you're all virtual now.
We're all virtual. And again, I think the biggest reason why we made the move is we wanted to charge for what we do planning wise. We had enough experience at our prior world of giving away our expertise, I guess you can say, of the only way we get compensated is by that insurance policy or by that investment, or the annuity, whatever that may be, and that gets old. I came from a world as an engineer where, as a consultant, if someone wanted to build a project, we gave them a proposal, and they either did it or didn't do it.
Yeah.
So now what we do by charging for planning, that's what our whole we're fee only, RIA. So if someone wants to work with us, here's a proposal, and now we're working from a greater foundation of being able to sit with a client and really give unbiased advice, and not have to rush it per se. Also, because when you're in the commission world, well, at some point I got to get paid.
Yeah.
And in this world, they're compensating us for our ideas, and that is just so much more fun. It's so much more fun.
How many years have you been doing that? How many years have you been able to charge for your advice?
Almost about 2 years now.
Okay, great.
About 2 years since we made the move. My partner did it a little bit with the broker dealer, but it just wasn't working out the way he wanted it to. That's why we got together on this and made the move.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's go to family then. Where do you live? You're not from Tennessee. I can hear that in your voice. At least not East Tennessee. I haven't heard any y'alls yet. So what's your family situation?
So my wife and I are originally from upstate New York. I moved down to the Philadelphia area in 1996. So I've been down here a long time now. So we're a little northeast of the city of Philadelphia, about 40 minutes in the suburbs. Been married this year, 20 years now, to my wife, Maria.
Nice job.
And we have one daughter, Anastasia. She's 13 now. Good kid.
Yeah.
And so it's all good. Love the Philadelphia area. Hate the sports teams. I'm a New York sports fan. I can't root for the Eagles. Sorry.
You don't have to.
Guess my religion. But yeah, so we're in Philly, and
I want to talk a little further back, which I think is fun too. It's one of probably my favorite question is when we do these is what was your earliest what was your introduction to strongest childhood memory as it relates to money?
Yeah. So there's a lot of early memories of, not having enough of it. Money doesn't grow on trees.
What did that look like though for you guys? Is it, growing up for me, it was, just kids having sort of nicer clothes, or their parents had nicer cars. We had fun, we had clothes, and we had, but it wasn't like, if I got something sort of cool, I got one thing that was really cool. I didn't have 5 of them. You know what I mean? So what was the early memory of not having enough? Was it worse than that?
Well, my parents, they did a pretty good job in, providing for us, my one brother. So it's not like we weren't wanting for things. My strongest memory is, and this is kind of why I'm in this business, why I'm in now, is one of the big reasons is my dad sat my brother and I down, and this was I think my sophomore or junior year in high school. So this is a later memory, not like I was a young kid, but I was a teenager by that point. And he basically sat us down and said, guys, the college money that you thought that was there is no longer there.
Wow.
It's gone. And he proceeded to tell us that, well, my wife, my mother and I, basically, they didn't communicate too well when it came to money. My mom ran the finances in the household, and she came one day to him and threw down a bunch of bills and says, Gary, this is the deal. And the debt was just ran up.
Wow.
This ran up, and to a point where she couldn't service it anymore. And my father had no idea, really.
Wow.
And so that was a big deal. And it's like, okay, I got it. Community college is in my future, which is fine. It's just, and that led to a lot of other things. My parents ended up getting divorced. And so it's a big deal. That was my strongest memory by far.
Wow.
And which then what we talked about a few minutes ago was that was not going to happen to Marie and I ever. If we were to get split up at some point, it's not going to be over money. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
That's my strongest memory, and it led to some good things too, which I can get into if you're interested. But that was one that kind of, if I can help families avoid that,
Yeah.
if I can help families avoid that situation, then that's yeah, I make money doing that, but that's also just that's my why I'm in this business, is to help avoid that situation with other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, talking about things you want to avoid, I did ask in preparation, what was your something you wasted money on um, that you'll never forget? And I thought your answer was interesting.
Yeah. So I think, was it in college or right after college, I got involved with a company, multi-level marketing type of stuff. And I learned a lot of lessons there, but it definitely was a waste of money. And I got a lot of water filters and things like that, and which I still use. They're good products. So I use them.
Yeah. It's interesting too. A lot of those, it's like, your product is good, your business structure is just whack.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the product's fantastic. I still
I
got
don't
it in
have
my
any
house
friends
today.
left, but I got a lot of great water filters.
Yeah. So that was like, okay, well, I learned a lesson there. But yeah, it was a bit of a waste of money for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the way you run your business now and the way you want your business to look. Let's just say in the next 6 months or 3 years. You've been a really active member of Elite Advisor Network. We appreciate your contribution. You're always good to share the resources that you use. So what is it about your business that you want to see improved or different to mature in the next, few years?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now we have a pretty strong structure in terms of my partners. We're on the same page with things. It's fantastic. We love working together. We have a great tech stack, a lot of different we've automated a lot of things within our system. I attribute that to my partner Brandon. He's a whiz at that stuff. So we got some great technology per se. But for us to grow, we're going to need a planner this very soon on, and an administrative assistant that can work with clients and takes care of things like applications and just questions they may have. They can take care of. So that's our immediate future, is to bring on a couple of folks that can help us out with the planning and with the administrative. We're not looking to grow huge. We want to be 6, 7, maybe 8 people between planners and admin. That's kind of where I think we be our sweet spot. I don't think any of us are really good big people managers. At least we don't think we are. We haven't really managed anyone yet, per se. So in my mind right now, that would be where we're at. And if for some reason it's like, oh, it makes sense to grow bigger, we will. But that's kind of where we are for the next 3 years or so. It'd be our plan to bring on some more folks, but not get too big. Again, my partners are in Massachusetts, both of them. I'm in Philly, so we're entirely virtual. There's no office we walk into. I don't have a whiteboard that we talk about EIN all the time.
Yeah.
I use a whiteboard on the computer all the time to do the same thing.
Sure.
So that's how that works.
Yeah.
Again, we're only a couple, now almost 2 years. Be 2 years this November. Will be 2 years. And so we're still relatively young, obviously, in this business world, and we're looking to grow it out. And I'm in EIN. They talk about, Sten talks about not being that person. It takes 10 years to get to where you want to be. I'm kind of that 10-year person. But that's why I joined EIN now, even though I'm almost 10 years in, because I don't want to take another 10 years I want to accelerate where we are. And this group's been fantastic. I mean, my partner says, Matt, I'm really glad you joined that EIN. I'm always bringing good ideas to the table. And it's like, so it's been a great program. I mean, we're in the idea business. And when I'm working home in my home office here, I'm not surrounded by people with all different ideas. So someone who's working virtually, a program like this is absolutely necessary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or you become stale. you're not thinking outside the box that much.
Yeah.
With this group, you definitely do a lot of thinking outside the box. It's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your contribution to the community as well. I mean, something that we are really clear about when you join EAN is that we will provide you with ideas and community, but the only way that it works is if you then provide your own ideas, right? I mean, it's that classic story of all the people sitting around the campfire and they don't like each other, so they hold on to the log in their hands and they all freeze to death. Like you got to contribute. And if we all contribute, we all win, right? And so you have contributed, and I appreciate that. I want to ask you, as we wrap up, because we talked about sort of the freedom of owning your own business. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of advisors who listen to this who will be able, you'll be able to speak to right now. As you've matured in your business, and as you've had a daughter grow older, what would be your advice to someone who, is in the business, has younger kids, and just managing, hey, I'm trying to grow my family and I'm trying to grow my business. Mm-hmm. And growing both those things at the same time is difficult. So what encouragement or practical advice would you give them? Then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my first few years in this business, I was, 24/7, 365, on this business. And just because I didn't have the support system that I do now. So I encourage anyone in this business to find the people that can help you out. The who, not how type of mindset, where find your who's that you can align with for people who are better than you at other things. Like, for example, my partner Brandon is much better at the business side of things than I am, far. Right. I couldn't have some of those clients we have now wasn't for partnering with him, and have a person like my other partner Chris who does all portfolio stuff. Find your who's, because once that happens, that you have an alignment with some folks and you're not a one-man show, a lone ranger. Yeah. Then you start really being able to expand and still have a life. That's been my biggest, by doing what I've done, made the move and find these people. And sometimes that takes time. You got to vet folks out. Right. But as soon as you start doing that, the better you'll be. The better you're going to have more time where you can balance things better. Yeah. Like when I go away, I went away last weekend to Tennessee down by you guys. Yeah. For a few days, and I really didn't. I had email kind of on, but I didn't really do much at all. Right. I took care of stuff. Yeah. And that's just an awesome feeling, where your business is growing without you. You don't have to actually be doing it while you're away. Yeah. So that would be my advice. The sooner you start doing that, you'll be better off. Yeah. You'll be better off. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And I know Sten echoes that, it's easy to look at people, and we had in our last few episodes ago, we talked about, superpowers, that every advisor should have a superpower. But, for the most part, people have one, maybe one and a half. But if you can align yourself with other people that have different superpowers, then, and I know everyone's starting to think about, Marvel right now, Avengers and all, but it is like that. I mean, you can do a lot more good when you align yourself and you trust that, hey, I don't have to be the only point of contact here. I don't have to know all things and see all things. And so, and I hope that's a practical encouragement to you who are listening. An action step is, don't use your COI network just for clients. Use it for ideas. Mm-hmm. Make it so that when someone says, hey, here's my business situation, here's our financial situation, here's our estate situation, you go, you know what? I have great news. I have someone that can 100% help us with that, versus feeling the pressure of, oh my gosh, I don't know how to help them with that. You don't have to know exactly what to do, but if you know who can help them, then you're a massive help. You're that's tremendous value. Your COI network is valuable, and you essentially can charge for that when you do planning. I'm going to quarterback this, but I'm not going to block and throw and catch. I'm not going to do all the things on the field, but I will coordinate those things happening.
And that's a huge passion of us at Elite Advisor Network. And I would also say on a really practical level, just download Who Not How, listen to the audiobook. It's an incredibly simple and practical and powerful book. And it's so simple that you will implement it. You just will, because they make such a great case for it. So Matt, thank you again for your participation in EAN. Thanks for friendship, and thanks for being generous with your time today and helping these other advisors improve their lives and their business.
No, yeah. Again, thank you too, man. You guys do some great work over there. And I look forward to our calls once every week and getting on stuff and learning new stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And folks I've met through that group also they're top notch. They are elite advisors, a lot of these guys and girls. They're fantastic. So yeah, looking forward to bigger and better things.
Thanks, friend. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's member conversation. If you'd like to be part of our community of elite advisors who are working to improve their life and business, then visit stenmorgan.com/EAN. That's stenmorgan.com/EAN. And thanks again for listening, for being a part of our community. We appreciate you very much.